thanks for joining us. I'm here today with Rodrigo Kleinart from Brazil, and he is a product manager in the tech world who studies neuroscience to better communicate with his customers and his staff. Hi, Rodrigo.
Hi, Loretta. Thanks for having me.
Sure. Rodrigo had some great questions for me, and since I don't like to sit at the keyboard all the time, I invited him to chat about it. So I look forward to these questions. Why don't you start?
Yeah, so let's start. Well, as a product manager, I'm always concerned about what motivates both my team and also my users. I need to provide to my users a product that does make sense, that fits what they need, fits what they desire. And so we're talking a lot about motivation here. And one thing that is super interesting to study and to see is that there are some products out there that they have a concrete reward after the user takes some action. So when you, I don't know, refer a friend, you get a reward for that referral. Or when you report something, you get points, and those points will rank you up in the game, and so that has some status and recognition effect. And I think that has a lot to do with serotonin and the dopamine that leads to take the action. But what I'm most intrigued about is what about some actions that they don't have a direct reward in the end. So for instance, Wikipedia. Why do people write articles on Wikipedia? Like they don't get a reward for that. Sometimes they do it even anonymously. So what drives people to actually get motivated to write an article on Wikipedia or any other kind of open source products out there?
Oh, great question. Now I can really see why I didn't want to answer that on the keyboard, because there's so many aspects to it. So the first aspect I should add, just to be real, so people will know my emotional side of it. If you have ever tried to contribute to a Wikipedia page, there is a nasty control group on every page that has dominated. And if you try to add anything, they will be all over you with criticism. So it's a real power thing. And it's fascinating because it's been the same all through human history, that as soon as a new technology comes along, like a new group gets power over it. And each page has its own little power dynasty. And I have to say that I personally live near Wikipedia headquarters, and my husband donated money to them. So we got involved in, we got invited to a cocktail party that they had for donors. And I had a beef because in my old naive days, I tried to add things from my books, and oh man, they just deleted immediately, and they throw some rule book at you. But what bugged me, because I felt that it's all these science people pretend that it's about science. That's what my new Substack blog is about. It's never really about science, it's about the power. So I said something about dopamine, and you go onto a dopamine page, and they say that dopamine is manufactured in your body from tryptophan, and to get it, you need protein food like beans, eggs, and turkey. Now, the highest contributor is red meat, and they just leave out red meat because in their personal values, they don't want you to eat red meat. They want you to be a vegetarian. Now, you can have your opinions on that, but people think of Wikipedia as being factual. So here I am at this cocktail party with Wikipedia, telling them that, and they give me, that nice corporate, oh, well, we don't really control the content of the pages, blah, blah, blah. The next year I was invited to another one of these, and I tried again, and I got the same, thing. So that's just my personal background to show you that I have emotions behind this. But now let's go to why do people do this? So I've already, given you some sense of like, you do get a feeling of power by being able to assert, this is my view and I'm right and you're wrong. And in daily life, we don't always have the power to do that. And in fact, if you do that all the time, you make yourself obnoxious and then no one works with you. So you can be powerful in the short run, but you mess up your life in the long run. So we all have these withheld power urges. And this is the subject of my new book, Status Games, Why We Play and How to Stop. So in my work, I use two different words for this to help people get more comfortable with it, because we don't like to admit to our own power impulse. So one of them is specialness. Everyone wants to be special, right? And if I get my thing on Expedia, that makes me special. But if other people then delete it, then either I'm down or I have to fight my way onto it. So I don't want to fight my way onto it because I have enough other things. But if you don't, then this becomes your fight. So there are many people who invest their energy in that. And so you could say that would be serotonin, of social importance, social power. Now, I also talk, and that the nice word again for that is specialness. And a lot of people speak as if we all have a right to specialness, and it's a social injustice that you don't feel special. Thank you. Okay. For those of you who are only listening, Rodrigo's face shows that he understands what I'm saying.
Totally, I totally get you.
Yeah. Okay. So I guess you've had the same cultural indoctrination that we have, unfortunately. And I say this as a guilty parent who was in that generation of being expected to give your kid unlimited specialness. And I think my kids have learned to be back in the middle rather than to be such extreme on the specialness quest. And I have to say that I learned that from a book called Nurture Shock, which is, again, the shock of this whole generation of parents that wanted to nurture their kids, and then their kids expected to be nurtured at work. And, and then a lot of people realized that went too far. Now, I have a whole different way of understanding this urge for specialness, which goes even deeper into the mammalian impulse. So animals are not aware of spreading their genes, and yet everything they do is to spread their genes. So a word for that we can understand is legacy. So our animal brain cares about its legacy. I want to leave something behind. And in the past, all through human history, until birth control, your legacy was your children because you didn't have much choice about it. So now people don't automatically have that kind of legacy. And so they're looking for other kinds of legacy to satisfy that natural impulse. And you can see that Wikipedia is wow, I am, whoa, So I have to say, so just also one more thing, I do not have a Wikipedia page. So when I first started writing about 10 years ago, I tried to get it and I asked someone to help me. And I said, I tried, and they said that I was not significant enough or relevant enough. They have a corporate word that they use. So then the woman said to me, what? 50 Shades of Grey has a page. Why don't you have a page? So, and if you're listening and you don't know what 50 Shades of Grey is, it's pornography, but it has also passed into the mainstream. So as the years went by, occasionally I thought about trying again. And then I thought, geez, I don't want a Wikipedia page because you know why. Yeah. So And now
Yeah.
I'm happy to hear from you, your opinion, or if I didn't completely answer or whatever.
No, of course. I think it does make a lot of sense. So I thought that serotonin would be involved in this process because, as you said, people do want to feel special. They want to feel even useful, right? Like nowadays, sometimes people are so they don't have that many things to do, and boredom is actually like one of the problems that we face today. So this feeling of usefulness, of feeling special really makes people go there and make the effort. I was thinking if there is not also a component about contribution and belonging to the community of contributors. You know, like when you actually make an edit to a page in Wikipedia or any open source product out there. We have many examples of open source digital products, even like Linux operating system, other softwares like Audacity or
Oh,
GIMP,
yeah.
all of that. Like, I think there's a component around belonging to the community, you know? And
Okay.
yeah, I'd love to hear your opinion on that.
Sure. Wow, you've raised so many great issues. So I'm going to start with the one once again that has some emotional resonance for me. So my husband is sort of an engineer and he has strong opinions about the open source community. So he doesn't usually express a lot of emotion, but when I met him, like he was very emotional about open source, whatever. And I didn't even know what it was. So I certainly know now. And I want to add, as you know, that for mammals, it's hard to have a group because we always have tensions and frustrations. So what bonds a group is a common enemy. So you know that the open source group has a common enemy, which is the corporate coders. So corporate coders versus open source coders allows you, so this is a group that you can be part of. But a significant element of that is it's a high status group in your own opinion. So it's always the weaving of the oxytocin aspect and the serotonin aspect. I want to be part of a group, but I want it to be a group that raises my status. And I think this is very significant because that urge to contribute, to belong, to give, to share is the indoctrination that we hear from so much on the internet. And no one else is acknowledging that it's not that simple because people want status as well as just pure belonging. If you just wanted belonging, there's a million ways to belong, but people want to belong in a way that gives them a sense of significance. And if they don't have a sense of significance, they blame until they find a group that gives them that sense. And I totally remember that quest in my own life. So I don't, I'm not disparaging anyone for feeling that way. Now, so the being useful, once again, I'll tell you my like emotional side of it, okay? My mother was always doing housework and then she was angry. This is such a cliche of the 1950s, right? My mother was always angry because other people did not appreciate the work she did. So many people have learned that from their mother, that they want to do something to please others, to get recognition. Then when they don't feel recognized, they're angry. So it's a quest for everyone, as much as we want to blame the system, is I not only want to contribute, but I want my contribution to be recognized. So the minute I contribute to Wikipedia, if I think they're just going to delete what I did, then I have a choice. I could fight them. And some people make that choice because they enjoy that fight. And other people have different fights in their life. So everyone chooses where they invest their energy. Now, boredom is, again, a huge factor here that's fascinating. We know that it's not just COVID because long before COVID, all of these people invested all of this energy. Like the minute the internet began, the minute these open source codes began, like so many people invested energy in them. It's really a great thing about the world, as much as everybody wants to criticize it, that all these people built so much on the internet, like overnight. It was amazing. It was a great thing. So why are people bored? One thing no one wants to acknowledge is that our lives are easier. So nobody can admit that we have free time because it was harder to survive in the past. Because one thing, before birth control, children started coming as soon as you had sex, and then they came quickly. And by the time you were your age, you were a grandparent, and you were just so busy that you didn't have a chance to be bored. And the other thing I try to explain, if you wanted to eat bread and butter, think of how much effort went into how to make bread, how to make flour, how to make salt, how to make an oven, how to make a fire, how to make butter, how to make a cow. That's how hard life was just to eat bread and butter. And today, everyone gets it all. Like, you go into a restaurant and they put bread and butter for free, and salt on the table for free, and sugar. You know how hard it was to get sugar in the past, and now it's free, and no one acknowledges that. They just go around complaining how hard their lives are. Excuse me for ranting. So therefore, we have this extra energy that we would have spent on survival, and we look for other ways to spend it to meet our survival needs, and how we invest it depends on our expectations. So if I put energy into this or this or this, it's because I expect that to have a reward. So if I were to fight with the gods of Wikipedia, do I expect to win? So, or where else do I put my energy? It's what I expect about that. And those expectations are very individual, and they're built from past experience, and they change slowly with repeated experience. So in terms of applying this to your customers and your staff, is they all have their unique individual expectations, and you can help them create new positive expectations. But it's just like if you give a dog a treat, then it expects to get a treat when it does that behavior, but it takes a few treats for the dog to automatically repeat that behavior.
Yeah, totally. Well, I completely agree with you, Loretta. This part of habituation that you mentioned, I mean, right, taking things for granted. I think the human being is always looking for, what else can I do, right? How else can I get my happy hormones going and flowing? So yeah, definitely, boredom has transformed our way of lives, and we're looking for new problems to solve, right? And this is what actually also fascinates me, because people have their own problems that technology could solve. So I'm always looking for good solutions that will provide an experience, like an intuitive experience and a rewarding experience, so that they actually take the actions that I want them to take, right? And that will benefit both the product and their lives. But just still on the open source topic, I was talking to some of my friends who are developers, and they say that they also benefit a lot when they contribute to open source products, that they learn a lot, and this gives them a lot of pleasure. And when they are learning, they create new connections, and I think this enables, they feel that they are enabled to progress in their career or reach new rewards. I don't know what triggers in them. Is it like the learning aha moments, right? Is it like a burst of dopamine or something like this?
Great. Okay, that's a great question. Let me just write, because that's before I forget all those things. So first, when you mention how a new problem to solve is very motivating. So solving a problem is relieving cortisol. So the core primal aspect of this is an animal is hungry. Hunger is cortisol. When you find food, you relieve cortisol. So a big part of dopamine is relieving cortisol. So in our daily life, yeah.
Yeah, even if it's someone else's problem, like if I feel that if I'm creating a solution that will solve actually your problem, and but I feel happy about that as well.
Yeah, because we learn from experience that you get more recognition if you solve a problem. Again, no one wants to admit that they care about recognition and status, and that's why all of these conventional explanations that we hear on the internet don't really explain things, because no one wants to acknowledge even that self-interest exists. They don't want to acknowledge that expectations that you're predicting reward. Oh no, I don't care about rewards. So, when you look for food, if it relieves hunger. If you're not hungry, then finding food doesn't really give you that much dopamine unless you find food that's excess reward, which means eating too much or eating something unhealthy. So there's a choice between natural healthy rewards that are only rewarding if there's a real need. So that's what problem solving means to us, is when there's a real need, whatever I do feels so much better. And I always use the example, I'm not a camper myself, but many people love to go camping. To me, camping sounds like work, but to many people, it's about the satisfaction of really meeting your needs, because it's harder to meet your needs while you're on a camping trip. And when you're out hiking and then you go back and you're hungry, and then the food really tastes good, even though it's simpler food, because you're not surrounded by excess. So now the next part, so you asked about the learning, and then about the confidence of putting it all together. So the joy of learning, again, to get right to the point in the interest of time, is when you think you know more and you have more confidence about your future career. So you have positive expectations about future rewards. And this is so important because everyone today wants to say, learning is a joy, and I just learn for the joy of learning. I don't care about future rewards. And that's fine if you want to think that. But if you've been a parent or a teacher of thousands of students, and that's the only theory you operate on, which I did for a good decade, so I have tested that theory. That's what motivated me to look deeper. And before you get those future rewards, you have more confidence today because of your problem-solving skills. And when you say it's the aha moment, so it's also, you can't feel confident until you do it yourself. So when you're in school, maybe you're just studying with someone else's direction. But when you do it yourself, like, what a joy is that? And that's what open source coding is, because you're doing it independently on your own initiative. And that builds more confidence. And I'm thinking now, as a grandparent, if a child is learning to tie their shoes and a parent is standing over them, telling them what to do every minute and helping them, and imagine that child the first time they tie their shoes alone, what a joy that is. See? And yeah. And so that is pride, which is serotonin, but it's also confidence. And serotonin is really calm, because I have confidence in my ability to solve problems in the future.
It's assertiveness, right? It's being
assertiveness and well, but it's assertive, not in the tying the shoe maybe, but with the open source coding.
Exactly. You feel more confident that you can contribute, that you can be recognized for that. And
Yes, yes.
I'm
And
glad I'm.
that's why in universities today, and in the business world today, um, people want to learn by doing. There used to be training programs where company hired you at the bottom and they trained you and you worked up. And that doesn't exist anymore for reasons are simple. I enrolled in a few training programs and then I was a very bad person and I quit. And they can't make you stay. So now why should they invest in you if you won't stay? So instead, you have to prove on your own to do the skill. You have to find an opportunity to do the skill. And then you go to a company and say, look, I did the skill.
Yeah, totally, totally. Well, this explains so much from a product development perspective and in terms of user behavior. And maybe if I can, one last question, just concerned about timing. Do you believe that this kind of motivation, this is intrinsic motivation, where the reward itself is the recognition or the belonging, sometimes, although people don't consciously rationalize about it, sometimes they are stronger rewards for us to take actions compared to monetary rewards, of course, depending on the value, right? But sometimes like tangible rewards, they have a weaker impact on on how much the user is willing to make effort. You know, the feelings that they are striving for, the belonging, the control, the respect. They feel that this really motivates them to take the action that you want them to. I just wanted to compare like the strength of these two kinds of rewards, tangible and intangible.
Great question. And it sounds like you may have studied this a bit in university, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so of course, I used to teach this, so I'm of course aware of what the university answer is. So we won't spend a lot of time on that, but we all know that the university answer is, yes, tangible rewards are not the thing anymore. Intangible rewards are more powerful and more important because people care more about belonging. Okay, we know that's what people say, but I don't think it's the whole story. It's part of the story, but in the corporate HR world, how do you say HR in Portuguese? RH?
Yeah, we can say human resources, it's
Yeah.
fine.
So if they give you tangible money rewards, there's a couple of problems that can come from that. One is if you give one person, then the others get mad. So then you have to give everyone and then you soon go bankrupt. That's one aspect. Another aspect, and this is consistent with research, that when people do something just for the money, they may cut corners. And as you know, they only focus on the parameters that are measured and let other things go, which can lead to either unethical behavior or careless behavior. Let's call it short-run behavior that's bad for the company in the long run. So whether or not it's true that we only care about intangible rewards, it's really better for everyone if we do focus on intangible rewards, even though I would say on an individual level, if you asked many people, would you rather have money or a pat on the back, they would really rather have the money, right? Yeah.
I'd rather have both, right? I want money and I want the recognition,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
If you do recognize my work, then give me money. How about that?
Yes. Yes. Now, another whole aspect of this is the mindset that we all bring to work has some element of fear of criticism. We all have fear of criticism that we bring to the workplace from our past experience. And of course, it's very individual, and not just the level of fear, but one person is afraid of X and another person is afraid of Y. So I'm not afraid that somebody's going to criticize my spelling because I was good at spelling when I was young. But I'm afraid that the person I'm with is going to start crying because my mother was always crying when I was young. So very individual, but we all bring past fears to the workplace. Now, every time you get some kind of social peace and harmony reward, it eases those fear. And because fear is a bigger motivator than reward, then anything that relieves a fear is very rewarding.
Yeah, because we're mapping threats before rewards, right? We're mapping what the cortisol is much stronger than any other of the happy hormones that we release, right? So we'll always try to relieve what is threatening us before looking for the next reward, because if we don't survive to that threat, there will be no reward to get.
Yes, yes, exactly.
Cool.
Any other questions?
No, I think we covered it all. I mean, this was super insightful, and not only to my users and my team, but also on a personal level. It's so interesting how we can apply these concepts.
Thank you, thank you. Well, you know what? Usually I ask questions and then I ask the guest for one question at the end. So why don't I reverse that? So now I'll ask you one question, okay?
Of course.
So you seem to have some marketing knowledge and experience. So I have 2 new books out. So give me some marketing suggestions.
Right. About books, about material to consume.
I have 2 new books. So one of them is coming out September 8th. It will launch. It's called Status Games, Why We Play and How to Stop. And the other one is called 14 Days to Sustainable Happiness, which is a workbook that goes with Habits of a Happy Brain.
Cool. Yeah, absolutely.
Not just a workbook, but is written in a way that teenagers and people in recovery would find easy to read.
Sure, sure. I think one of the good strategies that you can use to upsell your books and share them is to actually invite your readers to share the books with people that they think that would benefit from them. Because I think this, looking at neuroscience perspective on this as well, like they would get the reward of feeling of the belonging to, be contributing to helping someone that they care about. And we know that referrals is a very, very powerful source of leads to many, many products out there. So if you can somehow either engage your readers to refer your book and maybe even give them a small reward, as we were talking about it.
You won't believe this, but I've just done that. And thank you, because this helps give me the courage to do this. So I've just created the page. It's a giveaway. And so I have 2 problems with it as I'm crafting the language. So I have to make some subjective judgments, like if I'm going to give this prize to people who have helped me, then I have to ask for some confirmation of what the person has done to refer. I have to find a nice way to do that. And then from a public perspective, it has to appear ethical.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
What do you think about that?
So there are some tools out there in the market that they create like codes that will so if I am a reader of your book, I will get a code, a unique code that is linked to my profile. And if I share this code with someone else and someone buys using that code, and you can give a discount through that code. So there's a benefit for both parties. The person who is referring will get a reward, as in, I don't know, a participation in one of your episodes or something like this, or a chat with you. And the person who is buying the book will get a discount. So both of them think, they feel they are in advantage, right? So they are much more inclined to consume new products, new services, if they feel they are already one step ahead and one step closer to that reward. I mean, it must be very linked to dopamine, but yeah.
Great, great.
Yeah.
Well, see, here's a complication. I have an Inner Mammal Institute mug, and I have some cute little sculpture of a brain. So I have a lot of really cool things that I would like to give away. So first, it's expensive for me to mail them. Second, I have to wait online at the post office. Third, if it's not in the United States, it's so expensive. So that's why I need some controls on this.
Yeah, maybe, I don't know, think of some things that can be sent, virtual things, digital things. I don't know, a
Yeah.
copy. Maybe, like, who knows, a pre-order, a preview of your new books, like 1 week in advance. That would be amazing. But of course, like, there's a whole process involved in that. But I do see that, yeah, maybe logistics is one thing that might block you to, ship things around in the worldwide.
Yeah, I'm already giving all the digital stuff away free, and I can't advertise that I'm giving the book away for free because publisher wouldn't like that.
Maybe then a second suggestion that I could give you is that we could translate your work to Portuguese. I'd love to help you with that.
Oh, thank you.
And broaden your audience. Because,
thank you. Well, you know what? Then I'm going to ask you for one more problem that I have. Great. Thank you. Okay, here's my problem. I was crowdsourcing the translation of my books. So first I did it in Spanish, and a number of wonderful people offered to translate a few chapters. And I read Spanish, so, I could decide if something didn't sound quite right to me, but I'm not, native speaker. So I gave it to native speakers to ask what they thought. Within a few days, everybody was thinking that everyone else's was all wrong. So here I was with, like, every chapter I was ending up reading it 3 times to deal with everybody else's. Of course, I was just so overwhelmed that I just had to cut the. Now, the day that I finished and put it on Amazon, I got an offer from someone to translate it into French. And I learned French before Spanish, so I have more myelinization there. So I thought, okay, this is going to be easy, even though I'm exhausted. So first person sends me first half a chapter, and I send that to someone else for his opinion. And he said, this is so bad that I had to write it over rather than correct it.
Wow, yeah.
So, yet I am going to do this again with you. So I'm going to send you a Word file of 14 Days to Sustainable Happiness, because it's self-published, so I have the rights, and you can do as much as you want, and you will know that I will look for someone else to read it, but I have total confidence in you, and let's do it.
Of course, I'm super thrilled with this. Thanks for trusting, and I'm looking forward to translate it to Portuguese. I mean, I've read your other books, so I know what it is about, and I'll try to use the best terms that I can find.
Great. And just so you know, so everyone knows, so I don't speak a word of Portuguese. So this will be absolutely an act of trust, but I will, of course, give it to someone else to reread, and then I'll just kill myself if, no, I shouldn't know, that's a wrong expression to use. I will be really unhappy, but I'll just distance from that. And just 10 minutes before we started, I got a request to do it in Arabic. So
Oh, wow.
same thing is I'm just gotta trust. I ask one person and know that the second person I ask to read it may hate it, and I'm just gonna.
Yeah.
So great. It was great talking to you, Rodrigo. Keep in touch.
Yes, definitely. Will
I'll
be.
keep in touch. Bye-bye.
Bye.